The story begins in the profound sky continent, in the floating cloud city. The Xiao clan, in the protagonist's first life. He is the only grandson of the Xiao clan's fifth elder, Xiao Che, 16 years old, and he thinks, today is the big day. I'm going to marry the #1 beauty in the entire floating cloud city. It feels like a dream. He, a little sad, lowers his head, lamenting, Xiao Qingye is not only beautiful, she is also talented. On the other hand, I am a useless person with damaged meridians since birth. She must be very reluctant to marry me. The scene shifts to another location in the Xiao mansion. Two young men meet. One of them, the grandson of the second elder, Xiao Yulong, hands over something stating, Brother Yulong, this is the assassin's heart powder, colorless and tasteless. Whoever drinks it will die, leaving no trace or clue. I guarantee you'll be satisfied. The other young man, the only son of the clan leader, Xiao Yulong, with a somber expression, replies, good work. Knowing this puts my mind at ease. He pours the poison into the container and watches a girl taking soup to the protagonist and questions, Xiao Linger, where are you going? Xiao Linger, the only daughter of the fifth elder, 15 years old, replies, huh? I'm going to little Che's room to give him a bowl of soup. The young man approaches her, intervening. Nonsense. Today is a day of celebration for brother Xiao Che, especially tonight. How can you give him just that? Come here. Hand this over. This medicinal supplement will help him a lot. She, confused, retorts, a medicinal supplement? Little Chi doesn't need it. He's healthy. The other young man yells, you don't understand anything about men. Don't worry. Do you think I would harm my little brother? He switches the containers, and she watches thoughtfully, asking, Xiao Yulong, why are you suddenly concerned about little Che? Xiao Yulong replies, what older brother wouldn't worry about his younger brother? Go quickly, otherwise the soup will get cold. She turns around, agreeing. All right. Xiao Yulong watches her leave, muttering, Xiao Che, don't blame this older brother for being cruel. He clenches his fist in anger, adding, you forced me to do this. With a completely somber expression, he thinks, Xiao Qingye is my woman. Only I can marry her. Not with trash like you, Xiao Che. The protagonist, taking the bowl of soup, asks, little aunt, is this? She explains, this is a special soup with some medicinal supplements. I don't know if you'll like the taste. The protagonist, with a smile on his face, states, if it's from little aunt, I'll like it. She closes her eyes, calling him, you little rascal. He starts drinking, and she, curious, watches, asking, how are you feeling? The protagonist starts sweating, and feeling something, comments, little aunt, I'm feeling a little dizzy. He faints, and she, worried, inquires, little Chi, what's happening? Don't scare me like that. The protagonist, drowsy, murmurs, sleepy, I want to sleep. He closes his eyes. The protagonist reincarnates in the azure cloud continent. A baby is shown crying. An old man walking by hears this and approaches the baby, picking him up and commenting, poor child, you were abandoned? We met, which means we have some affinity. Here the clouds are light and the wind is calm. The mountain is well lit and the waters are clear. From today onwards, your name will be Yunche. I want to accept you as my disciple. I will teach you everything about medicine so you can heal anyone in need. Will you be willing? The baby stops crying, watching the old man. He breaks into a big smile, and the old man concludes, seeing how happy you are, I think I already know your answer. From now on, we will be master and disciple, and we will be living together. The scene shifts to 24 years later, still in the azure cloud continent. The scene shows a pile of bloody bodies on the ground. Even a little lamb is gone. Someone walks around with blood dripping, thinking, die, all of you die. Let everything and everyone accompany my master's life. A crowd is shown. The protagonist observes, they caught up to me so fast. Well, then let's go there and end this all. He goes to the end of Cloud's cliff. Someone scolds him. Yunche, you don't deserve to be the holy doctor's disciple. He is shown at the edge of the cliff, and the people are watching him. One of them accuses, you really dare to use the sky poison pearl to spread poison, killing millions of living beings in the azure cloud continent? Don't think you'll escape this cliff alive. Today, the 7 sects, in the name of God, will get rid of the cause of such calamity. The protagonist, all wounded, with his hand on his chest, retorts, don't give me that. No one here is a stranger. You keep saying you're doing this in the name of God. Don't you get tired of it? He shows the pearl in his hand and states, I know what you want is this. The people shout, the sky poison pearl. A guy laughs and celebrates. He finally revealed it. Chasing him for these 3 whole days wasn't in vain. One of the pursuers yells, "Yunche, this is the #1 divine treasure of the Azure Cloud continent. You are not worthy of carrying it." Another orders, "Hurry up and hand over the sky poison pearl. Hand over the pearl." The protagonist solemnly argues, "My master saved countless lives. He always cared more about others than himself. However, to obtain the sky poison pearl, you caused his death." Irritated, he yells, "Even if you want the sky poison pearl, even knowing this, keep dreaming." He swallows the pearl and the people shout, "Bastard! You really dared to swallow the sky poison pearl?" Another threatens, "Yunche is courting death." They rush towards the protagonist, yelling. He, calming down, comments, "All right, it's no big deal. Let's kill him and get the pearl." The protagonist starts laughing like crazy and yells, "Even if I die, it won't be by your hands." He jumps off the cliff, and as he falls, the guy watches him falling, commenting, "This madman, he really dared to jump." The end of Cloud's cliff is the first of the 4 deadliest places. "He will definitely die," another assures. "It's too benevolent for him to die on this cliff," a third sentences. "It's a shame we didn't get the sky poison pearl," another laments. The protagonist, as he falls, closes his eyes. He thinks, "In this life of mine, I had no regrets." The pearl starts to shine, and he continues thinking, "Except for not avenging my master or finding my biological parents." The scene returns to the Xiao clan. The protagonist reincarnates back into his body, and his aunt calls him, Little Chi, wake up, don't scare me like that. Please, open your eyes." The protagonist opens his eyes and sits up while she continues. "Little Chi." The protagonist looks at his own hand, questioning, "What happened? Am I still alive?" She jumps, grabbing him and celebrating, "Thank goodness, thank God, you finally woke up, Little Chi." The protagonist watches her, thinking, "I'm not dead." He, a little flushed, asks, "Thinking about it, kitten? Who are you?" She yells, "I'm your little aunt Xiaolingxi. Little Che, how can you forget me?" The protagonist's jaw drops, thinking, "Some memories suddenly surfaced. Little aunt?" He confirms, "Right, you are my little aunt." He raises a finger, remembering, "We grew up together from a young age until we were 12. We often bathed together." She, all flushed, scolds him, "How indecent! You don't need to mention that. Today is your big day, but you suddenly fainted. You made your grandfather worry." She turns around, leaving, and says, "Wait here, I'll call him." The protagonist watches her and gets up, remembering, "I am Xiao Che from the Xiao clan. Today is my wedding day with Xiao Qingyu. But didn't I die after jumping off the end of Cloud's cliff? Could everything that happened in the Azure Cloud continent have been a dream?" He looks at his own hand, deducing, "Wait, I still have my medical skills, and the sky poison pearl merged with my body after I reincarnated?" The protagonist becomes pensive, licks his lips, exclaiming, "There's still some poison in the corner of my mouth. This is assassin's heart powder." He looks at the broken bowl and deduces, "Death by poisoning. So I was killed by poisoning, and I still reincarnated into the body that was poisoned a while ago in my first life. The sky poison pearl is capable of nullifying any poison, and now it is fused with my body. That's why I'm still alive." He gets irritated by this and, going a little crazy, yells, "What a mess! Reincarnation by itself is already very surprising. And on top of that, I reincarnated together in this place and at this time. It's too much of a coincidence." He clenches his fist with a smile, concluding, "Anyway, I'm still alive. I'm fine. I can have a beautiful wife, so why think so much?" The old man enters yelling, "Z, are you okay? Is your body hurting? Are you feeling any discomfort?" He hugs the main character, who reassures him, "I'm fine, Grandpa." Grandpa, with tears in his eyes, confesses, "I almost died of fear when I found out you suddenly fainted." His aunt watches this thoughtfully and suggests, "Dad, little Z still has to go get the bride. Don't delay him." The old man agrees. "Right, little Z, go get ready." The main character narrows his eyes, confirming, "Right." He leaves, looking at the fallen bowl while someone rushes him. "Come on, you have to get the bride. Let's go, hurry up." His aunt agrees. "Okay, but..." She remembers the broken bowl and comments, "Ah, no, I forgot to clean that up." "Right, how was the soup with Xiao Yulong's medicinal supplement?" The main character replies, "Wait, is this Xiao Yulong's soup?" She confirms, "Yes, he said it would be good for you." The main character gives a little smile, thinking, "So that's it. I never thought the person who would kill me was you, my good brother." The narrator states, "The profound strength born from the profound veins is a mysterious power. Whoever possesses it will have much more strength than ordinary people. With this power, people can cut down trees with their bare hands and break rocks with just one kick. Those who do not have profound strength will have difficulty lifting a stone, even if it is the size of a basin. According to profound strength, there are 10 geniuses, each of which is unsurpassed and hierarchical. Profound elemental realm, profound nascent realm, profound true realm, profound spiritual realm, profound earth realm, profound heaven realm, profound emperor realm, profound tyrant realm, profound sovereign realm, and finally the divine origin realm. On the profound sky continent, strength means respect. Here, the kings of profound strength decide their position. The strong are praised and admired, the weak are intimidated and humiliated. The scene returns to Floating Cloud City. A group of people are gossiping. One of them asks, "Hey, did you hear about Xiao Shi from the Xiao clan? He's going to marry the #1 beauty in all of Floating Cloud City." Another comments, "Xiao Xia? That trash who doesn't have profound strength?" A third questions, "Will Xia Qingyue accept?" And the one who spoke second adds, "I heard that Xiao Xia's father gave his life to save Xia Qingyu, and that's why—" Another one arrives, interrupting them and exclaims, "Oh, why don't I have a father like that?" Another asks, "Why are you talking? How can you compare yourself to this young master?" And the one who spoke first retorts, "You can still call him young master? Didn't you hear about the toilet incident at the Xiao clan?" And the other asks, "Toilet incident?" The guy narrates, "The protagonists of these incidents were Xiao Xie and a servant of the Xiao clan." The servant points to the bucket and orders, "Come here. You were the one who filled this bucket with urine last night, weren't you?" The main character pleads, "I'm sorry, it wasn't intentional. I just drank a lot of water." And the servant mocks, "Sorry my ass, hurry up and dump that yourself." The people start laughing like crazy. One of them suggests, "Guess how it ended?" Another replies, "So Xiao Shi really cleaned his own toilet?" Another one, with tears in his eyes from laughing so hard, comments, "This young master is a joke." And an old man arrives gloomily saying, "It's a shame for Xia Qingyu. She has great talent and beauty, but she'll have to marry this useless guy." Another retorts, "A shame you feel sorry for her. Talk as if she would have eyes for an old man like you." And the old man retorts, "Not wanting to hide from you guys, but at least I'm a level 3 expert in the profound elemental realm. Even one of my farts can kill this so-called Xiao Ji." He farts, and the people watch with narrowed eyes. One of them yells, "What's wrong with you, old man?" Another questions, "Are you trying to act tough? Have some shame." Another, with his hand on his hip, argues, "Well, compared to the useless Xiao Xi, this old man is much stronger." Another laughs and agrees, "Yeah, you're right." The scene returns to the main character and his aunt helping him. She comforts him, "Little Z, don't mind what other people will say when you go get your bride. In your little aunt's heart, you will always be the best." The main character gives a little smile and replies, "Aren't they the same ones who say I'm useless? I'm already used to it." And he thinks, "In my first life, I was considered a cripple because I had damaged my profound veins, letting people humiliate me because of my inferiority complex. In my second life, I was the disciple of a holy doctor, and I still have my medical skills." Someone yells, "He's here. It's time to go." The main character walks towards the door thinking, "Someday my profound veins will be restored, and I will be at the top." Upon leaving, the main character is startled to see the helpers completely disfigured. The main character yells, "Am I going with them to get the bride? They're scary!" And the second grandson of the Xiao clan, Zhao Yang, asks, "Brother, this is the escort that this brother gathered for you. I wonder if you are satisfied." And the main character yells, "Zhao Yang, couldn't you have chosen someone with a better appearance? At least it doesn't have to be this scary. How about it?" And Zhao Yang, extending his hand, argues, "You're wrong, brother. Today you are the main figure of the Xiao clan. Without them, how can we highlight the beauty of our groom?" The guy sticks his finger up his nose, and the main character, startled, asks, "Does my beauty need help to stand out?" A bald man holding a donkey warns, "Young Master Xiaoxi, it's getting late. Please, get on the horse." The main character looks at this and questions, "Is that a horse?" The main character's little aunt yells, "Xiao Yang! Little Xiao is going to get the bride, and you prepare a donkey? Are you not showing respect for my father or me?" Yang, showing both palms of his hands, asks, "Calm down, calm down. The fifth elder is the strongest expert in Floating Cloud City. How dare I offend him?" And she, irritated, asks, "What's going on then? Do you want little Z to travel on this so he can get the bride?" Yang explains, I have no intention of hiding, but today all the available horses in the clan had diarrhea. I also had no choice. Another one arrives asking, why all the commotion? Yang replies, Brother Yulong, what are you doing here? And Yulong replies, I was passing by. Anyway, what's going on? Yang with a smile deflects, nothing in particular. It's not worth bothering Brother Yulong. And the main character states, it's not a big deal. I heard the horses had a diarrhea problem. Riding a donkey is not a problem for me. And the little aunt questions, Little C, why are you siding with Xiaoyang? And Yulong comments, this really is a problem. And the main character argues, if it's to go meet my wife, this is not an obstacle. Brother Yulong, don't you think so too? Yulong looks at him and wishes, then I wish for the younger brother to be reunited with his wife as soon as possible. This older brother will not delay you any longer. And he turns around saying, let's go. The little aunt, irritated, questions, why didn't you tell Xiao Yulong the truth? It was obvious that Zhao Yang was making fun of you. The main character looks at her and retorts, they both plotted this together. Do you really think Xiao Yulong would do justice? And she, irritated, leaves saying, I'm going to tell your grandfather. This went too far. And the main character exclaims, no, I won't be able to get married if you cause a commotion. And she asks, can't get married? Would that be better? And the main character questions, little aunt, what are you talking about? And she, with a little smile, deflects, nothing. And the main character, placing his hand on the donkey, announces, then I'm going. She watches him leave, thinking, little Z, why? Today is little Z's big day. I should be happy. Tears appear in her eyes, and she asks herself, why am I crying? I should be smiling. The protagonist going thinks, if you weren't my little aunt. He continues forward, and Yulong is shown. Yang Gui comments, Brother Yulong. Yulong slaps him in the face, yelling, pathetic! Didn't you say that anyone who consumed the assassin's heart powder would definitely die? Why is Xiao Qi still alive? The boy fallen on the ground becomes pensive and, with a smile, says, I don't know what happened. He gets up and extends his hand, completing, it seems that Xiao Qi fainted, but suddenly he woke up again. Yulong, irritated, rants, and because of that, now I have to see Zhao Qingyue marry that useless loser. The young man opens his arms, reassuring him, don't worry, boss. During the trip to get the bride, there will be plenty of opportunities. For example, we can steal the bride by force. Irritated, Yulong curses him. Idiot! If it were that simple, would I have waited until now? Xiao Qi may be a good-for-nothing, but his grandfather is at the 10th level of the spiritual realm's depth. There's no one in the floating cloud city who can compete with him. He punches the wall, irritated, and completes. With that old man, who would have the courage to mess with Xiao Qi openly? The young man with a smile argues, boss, you don't really need to worry so much. Let's think about it from another angle. Zhao Qingyue is the #1 beauty in floating cloud city. Even if she accepts the marriage with his status, she would never allow him to touch a finger on her. The young man kneels and argues, even if you search all over floating cloud city, someone worthy of Zhao Qingyue must have talent and elegance. And that person is you, boss. Yulong, suspicious, asks, don't suck up, but keep talking. And the young man, darkly, suggests, Xiao Qi fetching the bride is not the same as fetching her for you. When you get to know each other better, with the advantages you have over him, cheating on Xiao Qi will be extremely easy. That way, Xiao Qi's wife will be the same as your wife, boss. After hearing this, Yufeng puts his hand on his chin and cracks a smile, confessing, hearing you, I feel quite excited. Maybe it was good that he wasn't killed by the poison. The scene shows the protagonist passing by the city people. Someone comments, no wonder this is the richest clan in Floating Cloud City. Just this red carpet must be tens of kilometers long. Someone watching asks, is that Xiao Qi? Did that guy really come riding a donkey? Others make fun, commenting, actually that fits his identity as a young master banana. The protagonist gives them a thumbs up and a mocking smile. Riding a donkey, I can fetch the most beautiful woman in Floating Cloud City as my bride. Why don't you try to get one? The guys get irritated and yell, Xiao Qi, you're a scum who doesn't possess deep strength in this loot. Besides being handsome and having a rich family, what else do you have over me? The protagonist extends his hand with a smile, mocking, oh, I'm so scared, and yells, Godzi, Erdan, is there anyone who wants to fight me? The guys get irritated, asking, who? What? Two crazy guys are shown coming at them. He yells, mess with the young master and see what happens. How dare you bother the young master? Go through me first. The guy looks at him completely frightened. The guy's breath goes over them and they yell, threatening, "You're going to pay for this, so you learn to never do anything like that again." Did you really think that we, the Godon brothers, are easy to deal with? The guys fall to the ground, starting to vomit. One of them raises his hand, pleading, "Brave warriors, please stop." The protagonist pouts and continues, mocking, "This young master has lived 2 lives. Do you really think I can't handle you?" The scene cuts back to further ahead, and the protagonist, getting off the little donkey, is startled by a yell. "Brother-in-law?" A guy grabs the protagonist, saying, "Brother-in-law! Today you finally officially became my brother-in-law." The protagonist, confused, asks, No, wait." The big guy hugs the protagonist. The protagonist, suffocated, asks, "Yuamba, let me go or your sister will be a widow." Zhao Yuamba, 15 years old with a smile on his face, apologizes, "I'm sorry, brother-in-law. I'm a little excited." The protagonist, wiping the sweat off his face, asks, "Don't get so excited. You know I can't handle your little body." Yuamba observes, "You've grown a lot." Yuamba, with a big smile on his face, comments, "Hey, instead, now I see my brother-in-law as a small bean sprout." The protagonist narrows his eyes, doubting, "Maybe that's not a good thing. You're only 15 years old." A maid comments, "Wow, look, is that Xiaoche? But why did he come riding a donkey all the way up here? No wonder he earned the reputation of young Master Banana." Yuamba, irritated, yells, "Don't say bad things about my brother-in-law." The protagonist extends his hand, reassuring him, "Don't worry, let them talk." Someone yells, "Don't be rude." Zhao Qingyue's father, Zhao Hongui, is shown, and they yell, "Master!" The protagonist greets him, saying, "Zhao Qi greets his father-in-law." The old man, putting his hand on the protagonist's shoulder, says, "Cha, from today onwards, I leave Qingyue in your hands. Although you are not exceptional, your father, my sworn brother, Xiao Ying, was a true hero. Because you are Xiao Ying's son, I believe that you will never be an ordinary man." The protagonist, with a serious look, calls him father-in-law. He turns around, recommending, "Treat my daughter well, and as for the gossip, ignore it." The protagonist exclaims, "I know I'm a cripple now, but someday the dragon sleeping in the valley will awaken. And at that moment, all the contempt and humiliation against me will disappear like smoke, or spread like the clouds." His father-in-law says, "Well, I think you'll have a good future." The scene shows Qingyu coming out, all charming. The protagonist approaches her and says, "Be careful." He holds her hand and says, "Come in." The maids, crying, comment, "Why did it have to be Xiaoche? Poor miss." The protagonist, feeling the ice in his hand, thinks, "It seems I still can't touch this wife." A guy watches the two and warns, "She's coming. Xiao Qingyue is coming." Another guy asks, "What will Miss Xiao Qingyue's face look like? I'm anxious." Another, with a smile, comments, "It would be nice to take a look." And another rebukes them, "Don't dream. Only the groom can be the first to look at the bride's face." The scene shows the old men gathered, and one of them instructs, "Second bow to the ancestors." They bow their heads, and the old man says, "Good." A guy in the corner, master of the Zhao clan, watches this thoughtfully, and someone announces, "Husband and wife, exchange bows." The two exchange bows, and one of the guys, gritting his teeth, complains, "There are so many disciples of the Xiao clan, but she preferred to marry a waste, a useless guy like that." Another, indignant, agrees, "I'm so angry. Obviously I'm stronger than Xiaoqi." And his aunt rebukes him, "It's a blessing that she's marrying little Xiaoche. It's not like you say." The other retorts, "Xiao Qingyue is an unparalleled genius. Can Xiaoqi be compared to her? The #1 beauty and the #1 useless. Both are #1. Thinking about it that way, they even match." She gets irritated. The scene shows the protagonist and the bride. A bald man stands up and congratulates, "Fifth elder, you've gained an excellent second-degree daughter-in-law. Congratulations." Another comments, "Xiaoche is really lucky." The fifth elder, "Thanks. Thank you for your appreciation. Have some wine at the banquet." And the bald old man says goodbye. "I have to go back and take care of my grandson. My presence has already been remarkable, and the wine is not necessary." The fifth elder becomes somber, and the other cracks a smile and says, "I also have something to do. I'll take my leave here." Another also withdraws. Hey, then I'll go too." And the old man yells, "Enough! At Che's wedding, you don't even drink a glass of wedding wine? You're being disrespectful to me." The bald old man stares at the other old man and yells, "Think carefully, Zhao Li. After you die, who will take care of your useless grandson? Will it be the Zhao clan?" The old man is startled by this, and the protagonist gets irritated. The old woman arrives, calming everyone down. Calm down. The bride and groom will go to the bridal chamber first. The protagonist enters the room and she comments, your grandfather being bullied was very difficult for you, right? The protagonist becomes pensive and, with a smile, says, first, remove this crown. It seems a little heavy. You're my wife after all, but don't hurt your neck. She takes it off and looks at the protagonist. Blushing, he says, truly your reputation precedes you. And she comments, your emotional transformation is quite rapid. It seems the rumors about you being a weakling are lies. It appears you are handling all these humiliations quite well. And the protagonist, with a smile, says, my damaged vein is a fact. I am destined to belong to the weak. Is there any difference between enduring all this or not? She quickly lunges at him and he is startled, being struck in the chest. He yells, what? The crystal on the protagonist's chest cracks and she states, you weren't born with the profound damaged veins. In truth, they were destroyed. The protagonist exclaims, what did you say? And she continues, the most probable thing is that they were severely damaged when you were younger, and no one noticed in time. And at this point, there's no possibility of restoration. The protagonist becomes pensive, and picking up a crystal, he says, this might not necessarily be true. Regarding this, if I'm not mistaken, within the floating cloud city, there's no ice technique. And she interrupts him. Art of the frozen cloud. The protagonist exclaims, frozen cloud of Asgard? One of the 4 main sects within the Blue Wind Empire? And she closes her eyes, adding, until now only my father knew about this. And since now, at least on paper, you are my husband, there's no problem in telling you. Back then, to save my life, Uncle Xiao suffered severe damage to the point where he couldn't defend himself when he was attacked. The protagonist comments, my father, he... And she interrupts him again. Although it was to repay your kindness, I don't regret marrying you. However, we can't continue our marriage. The protagonist becomes pensive, and she continues, don't misunderstand me. I never looked down on you. A mist of icy fog appears in the room, and she says, those who wish to practice the art of the frozen clouds must first practice the frozen heart. The frozen cloud sect of Asgard only accepts women. They must be pure, never contaminated by feelings. Despite having married you, I won't fall in love with anyone in this life. The protagonist observes, and someone yells, young master, it's time for a toast. She looks at the protagonist and advises, you should go. The protagonist quickly leaves, saying, then I will. The scene shows a woman appearing. She is from the frozen cloud sect of Asgard, Chu Yueli. Chu Yueli says, Qing Yue, did you do what you desired? It's time to return to the frozen cloud sect of Asgard. And she requests, I ask that you give me a month. If I leave right after the wedding, he will suffer endless trials, master. And the master replies, very well. An exception was already made for you to get married. Extending it for another month won't be a problem either. And she thanks her. Thank you, master. By the way, is it truly impossible to restore his profound veins? And she answers, Qing Yue, you are a kind, compassionate person, and you have a grateful heart. That's very good. However, the master cannot help you this time. The protagonist returns to the wedding hall and says, great elders, please drink. The bald man takes the cup and makes a sound of disgust. The protagonist gets irritated. The other man spits and declares, a delicate flower was placed on top of shit. The protagonist gets even more irritated and thinks, I'm giving them face, and these old geezers didn't know how to accept it. If I hadn't used all the power of the heaven's poison pearl in my previous life, I would have poisoned you all tonight. A wine pot slams on the table, and Yu Feng arrives saying, younger brother, have a drink with this older brother. And the protagonist retorts, but I'm not good with alcohol. And the other man places his hand on the protagonist's chest, arguing, we are giving you face, and you refuse? Let's drink. The protagonist, looking at the symbol on the man's hand, laughs to himself and replies, then I shall accompany my older brothers. And Yu Feng laughs and adds, we won't stop until we're all drunk. The scene shows everyone passed out, drunk. And the protagonist leaves, making a noise and thinking, with all the internal space of the heaven's poison pearl, even the clan's mansion could fit inside, and they still dare to try and get me drunk? The protagonist looks around and thinks, I'll get rid of the wine first. The protagonist starts pouring the wine out. The maids are startled by this, and one of them asks, what is the young master doing? The other one replies, he's urinating anywhere. This is terrible. And the protagonist cracks a smile, thinking, it would be a bit boring to go back like this. I'll give my wife Qing Yue a little surprise. I'll put on a bit of a wine smell and pretend to be drunk. The maids observe and comment, wow, is he washing his face with urine? Even if he's drunk, he shouldn't do that. And the other one agrees. How disgusting. Let's leave. And the protagonist enters all red-faced, saying, Wife Qingyue, I'm drunk, I want a hug. He gets kicked and sent flying away. The door closes and the protagonist, holding his head, complains, What a heavy blow! Do you want to kill your husband? And he yells, Open the door. It was just a joke. You can't leave me outside the room on our wedding night. The others will make fun of me. She becomes pensive, and the protagonist approaches the door, continuing, And besides, I'm your husband. Can you bear to see other people making fun of me? The door opens and the protagonist enters, laughing, and invites her, Wife Qingyue, shall we go to bed? And she replies, You are not allowed to be within 5 steps of me. Also, you are not allowed to call me wife. And the protagonist inquires, Then where will I sleep? And she determines, You will sleep on the bed, and I will sleep on the floor. The protagonist protests, How can a man let his wife sleep in such a place? And she points, deciding, Then you will sleep there. And the protagonist thinks, Is she really going to make me sleep on the floor? And with a smile he says, Wife Qingyue, you seem to hate me a little. Actually, I'm not drunk, I was just joking. And she affirms, I know, and never call me wife again. And the protagonist argues, I sought you out, and you accepted. We even paid respects to the ancestors. Am I wrong to call you my wife? And she narrows her eyes, declaring, I hate people who urinate anywhere. And the protagonist justifies himself. Urinate? I was just pouring out the wine. And she reveals, I was also joking. The protagonist briefly becomes pensive and irritated. He leaves, saying, I married a wife who refuses to share a bed with me. Is the hard floor a place where people usually sleep? What a rage. If this young master had the strength to defeat you, I would have already pushed you onto the bed. And he thinks, How can I restore my own strength? Profound veins. I can't stay like this for the rest of my life. The protagonist is startled and, using the pearl, he wonders, Could this be it? He stops, thinking, In my previous life, when I was on the Azure Cloud continent, the pearl only glowed 6 times. Every time it glowed, it meant there was a rare treasure nearby. In the backyard, the protagonist observes the place and mutters, Strange. I certainly followed the direction of the heaven's poison pearl. How can there be nothing here? He becomes pensive and places his hand on a plant which is revealed. Startled, he exclaims, An illusion in the form of concealment? It receives light to be revealed. My God, hidden star herb. And there are 2. In my last life, when I lived for 24 years, I only managed to find 1. He observes his surroundings, pondering, These are treasures that can be used to kill people or to plot against someone. With them, I can do whatever I want. I must avoid being seen by others. Well, I'll store them in the heaven's poison pearl. He uses his power to store them. Suddenly, he gets startled. What is that? He gets closer and thinks, Could it be another treasure? But the heaven's poison pearl didn't react. It seems to be a person. She's lying on the grass without moving. Is she unconscious, or is she dead? It's a girl. He is startled, murmuring, A girl! He becomes pensive and asks, Little girl, what happened to you? He squeezes her and pinches her cheek. His hand becomes filled with poison, and he exclaims, Poison! He starts yelling, but the pearl starts taking effect, and he thinks, Holy heavens! What a terrifying poison! After using the pearl, the poison disappears, and he observes her, gritting his teeth and thinking, It's a good thing the heaven's poison pearl can neutralize any poison. Otherwise, I would be dead right now. But who is this little girl? Why was she poisoned with such a horrible poison? Just now, if the heaven's poison pearl had been a little slower, I would have died. She holds the protagonist's hand and whispers, Sky poison pearl. The protagonist is surprised, exclaiming, You know the sky poison pearl? She bites his finger and he yells, Little girl, no! She starts to draw blood and the protagonist begs, No, no, my blood! After taking some of the protagonist's blood, she disappears. And he murmurs, Huh? Gone? No, she's inside the sky poison pearl. He enters the pearl's space and approaches the little girl. Watching her, he thinks, She is purifying the poison from her body. But the sky poison pearl has already fused with my body. How can she do this arbitrarily? Was it because she sucked my blood? The protagonist turns red with a smile on his face and extends his hand, saying, Anyway, since you are living inside my body, wouldn't it be too much to charge rent? Just pay me with your body. The protagonist holds his own hand, exclaiming, No, she's a a little girl. How can I do something so despicable? And he thinks, At the very least, I should wait another 2 years. Outside, The protagonist, holding his own arm, states, "That's right. The fact that I don't want to touch her has nothing to do with her identity." Someone questions, "Little Che, who are you going to touch?" The protagonist looks back and answers, "No, I don't intend to touch anyone." His little aunt asks, "What are you doing alone in the mountains in the middle of the night?" And the protagonist justifies, "I couldn't sleep, so I went out to look at the stars." And he thinks, "Well, I couldn't say that my wife didn't let me sleep in the same bed with her, and that's why I left. That would be embarrassing." And the little ant warns, "Is it too dangerous to stay here if there are bandits around?" The protagonist, with a smile, comments, "No wonder you're not sleeping at this hour of the night. It turns out my little ant was worried about me." And she, surprised, retorts, "No, it's not like that. I also went out to look at the stars." And she thinks, "You just got married. How could I sleep, idiot?" And the protagonist, extending his hand to her, invites, "In that case, let's look at the stars together." The two sit under a tree and the protagonist observes. Speaking of which, it's been months since we looked at the stars together under the moonlight. And she recalls, "Yes, I still remember that winter night. That time, we watched the stars for a long time and, without realizing it, we fell asleep. We didn't expect it to start snowing during the night. The next day, we were found like two little snowmen. Your grandfather was very scared." She laughs, remembering. "Later, we recovered after staying by the fire for 2 days." And the protagonist adds, "Yes, we also drank a very bitter medicinal soup." The protagonist whispers, "Little aunt." He gets close to her face, and she puts her hand in front, stating, "Little Chi, you can't kiss me like you did when we were kids. We've grown up. You're already married." And the protagonist thinks, "I'm married, but King Yui and I are only married in appearance." And he declares, "But I really want to kiss you. What should I do?" And she replies, "Then you have to marry me." The protagonist, with a smile, confesses, "If you weren't my little aunt, I would definitely marry you." She blushes upon hearing this. The protagonist is a little confused and she shakes her head. The protagonist asks, "Little aunt, what are you looking at?" And she retorts, "You're already married. If King Yui hears what you said." And the protagonist exclaims, "I'm not afraid to say I want to marry you. Even if King Yui is here, I'll still say it. You also know that I didn't really want to marry her." And the little ant whispers, "Little Chi, I know how you feel. Don't say that again. I'm still your little ant, right?" He opens his mouth and smiles, placing his hand on her shoulder as she says, "Knowing how you feel is enough for me." Later, the scene shows King Yui watching the two. She goes back to the room, grabs a blanket, and covers them. Earlier, the protagonist wakes up and thinks, "Huh? A blanket? Damn. Isn't that our blanket that was on my bed? Don't tell me that on my wedding night, not only did I spend the night sleeping with another woman, but my wife also personally brought me a blanket? That's somehow very exciting." The scene shifts to the Shi clan. A guy arrives yelling, "Clan leader, something big has come up." The clan leader asks, "It's still early. What happened?" The guy delivers, stating, "It's the Zhao sect, a letter from the Zhao sect." Stunned, the clan master questions, "Zhao sect?" and yells, "Go inform the elders and deacons to go to the meeting hall immediately." The scene shows the protagonist entering. He makes a noise and his bride comments, hiding behind the door, "Could it be that because you had such a comfortable sleep last night, you didn't dare to come back?" The protagonist argues, "Well, let's just say it wasn't that comfortable." And he thinks, "How comfortable? Try sleeping sitting down to see if it's comfortable." The protagonist is surprised and holding her hand says, "Qing Yu," and she yells, "Xiao Qi, you..." The protagonist interrupts, "Call me husband, quick. I'll be here." The old man speaks, "Sai, you woke up early." And he wishes, "Good morning, Grandpa." She adds, "Qing Yu and her husband wish Grandpa a good morning." The old man observes, "Seeing you two getting along so well, I feel relieved." The protagonist laughs and she thinks, "This guy definitely did that on purpose." A yell echoes, "Fifth elder, please, by order of the leader, go to the main hall immediately. There are important events to discuss." The old man warns, "It seems like something urgent, and I'll go first." The protagonist, with a smile, asks, "Be careful, Grandpa." And with sweat on his face, he thinks, "Why am I feeling a murderous aura?" He jumps away from her and justifies, "Qing Yu, my wife, I only held your hand to make my grandfather happy. There's no other meaning to it." And she warns, "Next time you dare to touch my body, I certainly won't be gentle." The protagonist exclaims, "Hey, you're exaggerating. I only held your hands." Not to mention that we're officially married. Not only do I have the right to hold your hands, but I can touch anywhere else. And it would be normal. She angrily retorts, "You still wanted to touch somewhere else?" The protagonist confirms, "Of course, if there's no physical communication between us, we'll have spiritual friction." An aura appears, and he observes, "Wait a minute, why am I feeling a little cold?" Her aura explodes, and the protagonist, dumbfounded, backs away. She becomes somber, and the protagonist yells, "No touching! I won't touch anywhere! I was kidding!" The scene shifts to a meeting. The clanmaster states, "This is the case. Everyone already knows what to do with the younger generation." The bald elder laughs and speaks, "On my part, there's no problem. I'm sure I'll make the most of this rare opportunity." The other comments, "Well, someone's grandson isn't prepared. I'm afraid there's no chance this time." The protagonist's grandfather becomes pensive. The scene shows some people training. A guy punches a tree and the others continue to train. After the punch, the guy wipes his sweat thinking, "A workout can be very refreshing from time to time." The protagonist observes, saying, "Why are they so dedicated today? These guys used to be lazier than each other." Someone exclaims, "Honorable sir, you are like the starlight in the dark night, illuminating my world and igniting my life. My lord, you are too handsome, so much so that I would be willing to do anything for you." The protagonist watches this, completely scared, while the guy thinks, "In the art of flattery, I am the best. No one in the Xiao clan can match me. This opportunity will definitely be mine." And the protagonist thinks, "Is this guy practicing flattery? How disgusting." After all, what the hell is going on here? Why is everyone acting so strange? The protagonist's grandfather arrives and the protagonist asks, "Grandpa, what's going on? You don't look very happy." And he reveals, "A big event. This is a big event for the Xiao clan. A letter came from the Xiao sect saying they will send some men here in a few days." And the protagonist exclaims, "The Xiao sect will send people to this small Xiao clan? Are they crazy? Compared to the Xiao sect, we are, at best, a noble relative. Who would care? Why did they suddenly send people here?" And his grandfather explains, "There's something you don't know, but the founder of the Xiao clan, Xiao Biele, was the son of Xiao Zheng, an elder of the legislative control department of the Xiao sect. Xiao Biele had been expelled from the Xiao sect. Now that Xiao Zheng has died before his departure, he remembered his son and felt remorse. So, he left an oral testament to give the Xiao clan a spot to enter the Xiao sect. The old man sighs and says, "Of course, the one who will enter the Xiao sect will certainly be from the younger generation, with the greatest talents in the clan. So it has nothing to do with us." And the protagonist comments, "It's no wonder these guys are killing themselves training. Besides, they even trained in flattery, so it was all for this opportunity." And his grandfather says, "Little Z, don't feel bad. Even if you let the opportunity pass, it's also not a big deal." And the protagonist says with a smile, "There's no reason for me to feel bad, Grandpa. You haven't had breakfast, right? Well, let's have breakfast. I'm going to take the opportunity to take some to my little aunt in Qingyu." The old man replies, "Yes." Another watches, laughing, and goes towards a room saying, "Older brother Xiao Xi and Xiao Li left. Apparently they're going to the east courtyard. This is a good opportunity. Xiao Qingyu is definitely alone now. Older brother." The older brother cuts him off, laughing, and says, "I know what I have to do." The scene shifts back to Xiao Qingyu. Someone comments, "It's no wonder she's the #1 beauty in Floating Cloud City. Even meditating, she's so charming." And Feng, making a gesture, says, "Miss Xiao, I don't know if you—" And she interrupts him, saying, "Xiao Xi is not with me. Turn around and leave." And he, irritated, says, "That's unfortunate, but being able to meet Miss Xiao means I didn't come for nothing." And she replies, "I'm cultivating. Forgive me for not being able to receive you." And he, irritated, thinks, "This woman doesn't even give me face. It seems I'll have to be a little rude." He prepares to attack her, saying, "I heard that Miss Xia, at 16 years old, is at the 10th level of the profound elemental realm, and Long has always admired her." He extends his hand towards her, saying, "How about we spar a little?" She extends her hand, and the guy, drooling, thinks, "What a beautiful jade hand. I wonder how it feels to touch it." Her hand passes right through his, reaching close to his face, and he thinks, "So fast." And then he receives a slap to the face, falling down and losing 2 teeth. And she, watching him, says, "It seems that young Master Xiao is not very good at fighting. Go away." He, toothless and all messed up, asks, "What happened?" I'm at the third level of the nascent profound realm. I'm one realm above Qingyu. Even if I hadn't used all my strength, I wouldn't have lost either. Did she hide her power? At only 16 years old, she reached level 10 of the profound elemental realm? This has already broken all the records of Floating Cloud City. It's impossible that she's even stronger than that. And she questions, what is it? Does it seem that the great young master Xiao Yulong is not satisfied? And the guy, with a smile on his face, affirms, before, I was just testing, so I didn't use all my strength. This time, I'll go all out. An aura appears around him, and he exclaims, Miss Shi, pay close attention to this. He charges towards her with everything he has, and she extends her hand with blue energy and slaps him again, throwing him away and ordering, the fight is over, go away. He becomes pensive, spits blood, yells, and thinks, this woman is definitely hiding her power. The protagonist, carrying a bucket, arrives and asks, I wonder if my wife Qingyu likes stuffed rolls. Anyway, my little aunt really likes them. He is startled and greets him, asking, if it isn't Brother Yulong, it's only been a few days since I last saw you, Brother Yulong. What happened? Deformities suddenly appear on his face. Yulong points and exclaims, you! And the protagonist yells, my God, no deformities appeared at all. This was clearly a beating. Tell me who did this? Such brutality. And he leaves, making a gesture and affirming, training. I fell while training, don't worry. And the protagonist says, well, then Brother Yulong must have pushed himself hard. Yulong leaves, and the protagonist waves goodbye, saying, I won't bother you anymore, go slowly. And he thinks, keep pretending. It's obvious you were bothering my wife. Not even I have the courage to touch my wife. And you think you can? The protagonist greets her, saying, Qingyu, my wife, I brought you breakfast. And she says, Xiao Yulong was here. And the protagonist replies, I know. I ran into him a moment ago. Qingyue, my wife, can I ask you a question? She gets a little confused, and the protagonist, with a serious look, asks, after all, what level is your profound strength at? She narrows her eyes without answering. The protagonist circles her, thinking, and stares at her closely. She, irritated, asks, why are you staring at me? And the protagonist, with a smile on his face, replies, waiting for you to answer me. Communication between husband and wife is very important regardless of the mind or body. And she retorts, mind and what? The protagonist says, nothing. And he thinks, I'm sure I didn't marry a wife, but a block of ice that hits people. He coughs a little and says, Qingyu, my wife, actually, I have something important to ask you. Do you wake up from dreams every day at 3 a.m? And besides that, for 30 minutes, your whole body freezes and your 4 limbs hurt? She, confused, asks, how do you know that? And the protagonist, a little flushed, finishes, and one last thing. He, scared, stammers and asks, has your period been late for 7 or 8 days?